The emergency lights cast an eerie red glow across Kepler Prime Station as Ambassador Hyunwoo stepped through the reinforced doors of the Galactic Council chamber. His polished black boots clicked against the metal flooring, while hundreds of alien voices created a symphony of panic and rage. The circular chamber stretched 5 stories high, with delegates from 47 different species occupying floating platforms that orbited around the central holographic display. Hyunwoo's sharp eyes scanned the chaos before him. The Altarian delegate's crystalline body pulsed with angry orange light as he gestured wildly at the tactical display, showing Vorthan fleet movements. Nearby, the slug-like mollusk ambassador left trails of anxious slime on his platform while chittering in his native tongue. Even the usually calm ethereal council members flickered between dimensions with visible distress. 12 cycles. The Altarian's voice cracked like breaking glass. 12 cycles to abandon colonies where our children were born, where our ancestors built crystal cities that took centuries to grow. The Vorthans demand we simply walk away from everything. Commander So-Jin watched from the military observation deck above, her fingers drumming silently against the reinforced transparasteel barrier. Her black uniform bore no decorations, except for the small Earth insignia on her collar. Most species barely acknowledged humanity's presence in galactic politics, viewing Earth as a minor backwater world with outdated technology. They had no idea how wrong they were. Her encrypted communicator vibrated against her wrist. The message from Fleet Command contained only 3 words, but they changed everything. Assets in position. In the chamber below, the massive holographic projection flickered to life, showing a 3-dimensional map of the contested Outer Rim territories. Red markers indicated Vorthan warships, over 300 vessels spread across 12 systems. The Crimson Fleet moved like a plague across the star map, consuming peaceful worlds one by one. Thekmor's hologram materialized at the chamber's center, his reptilian form towering 8 feet tall. Scales covered his muscular frame while his yellow eyes glowed with predatory intelligence. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed rows of Vorthan warriors preparing for battle. Each creature stood 7 feet tall with razor-sharp claws and teeth designed for tearing flesh. Weak species of the galaxy, Thekmor's voice boomed through the chamber's speakers. You have grown soft behind your trade agreements and peace treaties. The universe belongs to the strong, and the Vorthan Empire is strength incarnate. The chamber erupted in outraged voices. The insectoid hive queen's mandibles clicked furiously while her translator struggled to keep up with her rapid speech. The robotic synthesizer delegation's optical sensors flashed red warning patterns. Even the peaceful gardener species, known for their pacifist philosophy, trembled with anger. You speak of strength, called out the elderly Centaurian ambassador, his forelegs carrying him closer to the hologram. But what strength is there in burning civilian settlements? What honor exists in targeting unarmed research stations? Thekmor's laugh sounded like grinding metal. Honor is a luxury for species that can afford it. The Outer Rim worlds contain resources the Empire requires: trilithium deposits, rare earth crystals, and most importantly, strategic positions near the galactic trade routes. Your people can relocate or they can feed our war machines. The choice remains yours for 11 more cycles. So Jin felt her jaw clench as she watched the delegates' reactions. Some species called for immediate military action, but their combined fleets wouldn't stand a chance against Vorthan technology. Others suggested diplomatic solutions that everyone knew would fail. The Vorthans respected only power, and they believed themselves the strongest force in the galaxy. Her communicator chimed again. This time the message contained coordinates and a single word: execute. Standing quietly, So-Jin made her way toward the exit. Her movement caught Ambassador Hyunwoo's attention, and their eyes met across the chaos. A subtle nod passed between them, the kind of communication that came from years of working together on humanity's most classified projects. The chamber's artificial gravity generators hummed louder as more delegates arrived through emergency teleportation. News of the Vorthan ultimatum had spread across the galaxy within hours. Even species that rarely left their home systems sent representatives to witness what many believed would be the end of galactic civilization as they knew it. Outside the chamber, So-Jin activated her secure communication array. The quantum encryption would ensure her message reached Earth instantly, bypassing the normal communication relays that took weeks to cross galactic distances. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic interface as she composed her report. Priority. Alpha transmission to Fleet Command, she began. Vorthan aggression has escalated beyond acceptable parameters. Request immediate deployment of Operation Silent Thunder. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you threaten humanity's allies. She paused, looking back at the chamber where desperate voices still argued over impossible solutions. Soon, very soon, the balance of power would shift in ways none of them could imagine. The Vorthans believed they faced a galaxy of weaklings and cowards. They were about to discover just how wrong they could be. The warning klaxons echoed through every corridor of Kepler Prime Station as maintenance crews scrambled to secure loose equipment. The energy readings were impossible. No ship in galactic history had ever generated such a massive hyperspace signature. Station sensors designed to track vessels across entire star systems struggled to process the incoming data. In the primary control center, Commander Veltar's 8 tentacles danced across multiple control panels simultaneously. His species, the cephaloids, were known throughout the galaxy for their exceptional multitasking abilities, but even he felt overwhelmed by the cascade of alerts flooding his screens. The station's artificial intelligence, a quantum computer network spanning 3 decks, had never encountered anything like this. "Sir, the energy displacement is off our measurement scale," reported his navigation officer, a young Andromedan, whose blue skin had turned pale with worry. "Whatever's coming through hyperspace is larger than our biggest dreadnoughts." Veltar's main eyes focused on the tactical display, while his peripheral vision monitored 17 other screens. "All ships in the vicinity. Maintain safe distance from emergence point coordinates. Unknown vessel approaching station perimeter." The space around Kepler Prime shimmered like heat waves rising from sun-baked metal. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as the hyperspace window expanded far beyond normal parameters. Most ships created rifts barely large enough for their hulls to pass through, but this opening stretched across several kilometers of empty space. Then she emerged. The UES Sovereign's Edge slid out of hyperspace like a predator emerging from shadows. Her hull gleamed like polished obsidian, absorbing the light from nearby stars rather than reflecting it. 12 kilometers of sleek, deadly curves stretched from her needle-sharp bow to her massive engine arrays. Strange geometric patterns covered her surface, not decorative designs but functional elements whose purpose remained mysterious to galactic science. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of humanity's most advanced warship, watching the tactical. Displays showed dozens of alien vessels scrambling to get out of their path. His crew of 200 worked with quiet efficiency around him, their movements precise and coordinated after years of training in Earth's most classified military facilities. "Communications. Open a channel to station control," he ordered, his voice carrying the calm authority of someone who had commanded starships through the deepest regions of unknown space. Lieutenant So-Jin, his communications officer, nodded. As her fingers danced across the holographic interface, "Channel open, Captain. All frequencies clear. Kepler Prime Control. This is the UES Sovereign's Edge, requesting priority docking clearance. We're here on official Earth fleet business." The response came immediately, though Commander Veltar's voice carried obvious confusion. "Unknown vessel. Your ship configuration doesn't match any registered human design in our databases. Please transmit your full identification codes and purpose for this visit." Minho exchanged glances with his executive officer, Commander J1, who had served alongside him during humanity's secret deep space missions. Both men knew this moment would change everything. For decades, Earth had maintained a careful balance, appearing weak enough to avoid attention while secretly building the most advanced fleet in galactic history. "Transmitting authentication codes now," Minho replied. The data packet that followed contained more than simple identification. Quantum encrypted files revealed the existence of Earth's shadow fleet, a collection of vessels built using technology far beyond what humanity had publicly demonstrated. The authentication protocols were genuine, verified by security measures. That made the station's AI systems chime in recognition. But the ship-class designation made every computer system pause in confusion. In the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions had been called as news of the mysterious vessel spread through diplomatic channels. Species representatives crowded around tactical displays, trying to understand what they were seeing. The human ship's energy signatures defied classification, weapon systems that didn't match any known technology, defensive shields that seemed to bend space itself, and propulsion systems that left no trace particles in their wake. Admiral Krek Thul, commander of the Vorthan invasion fleet, studied the tactical readings from his flagship's advanced sensors. His reptilian features twisted into a sneer as he processed the data, but his experienced eyes caught details that worried him. The human vessel showed no visible weapon ports, yet his computers detected energy patterns that suggested incredible destructive potential. "One ship," he growled to his bridge crew, his claws clicking against the armrest of his command chair. "These soft mammals think they can intimidate the Vorthan Empire with a single vessel. Do they take us for fools?" His tactical officer, a scarred veteran of dozens of campaigns, hesitated before responding. "Admiral, our sensors cannot penetrate their hull composition. We're detecting energy readings that shouldn't be possible with known technology." Krek Thul's yellow eyes narrowed as he watched the human ship maneuver toward the station with impossible grace for something so massive. Her movements were too smooth, too precise. Most ships that size required tugboats and careful navigation to dock safely, but the Sovereign's Edge moved like a dancer through space. "Prepare the fleet for immediate departure," he ordered. "If these humans want to play games, they'll learn why the galaxy fears Vorthan steel." But even as he gave the command, Admiral Krek Thul felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of warfare: uncertainty. The human ship represented an unknown factor in calculations that had seemed certain. Just moments before, his invasion plans, crafted over months of careful preparation, suddenly felt incomplete. On the bridge of the Sovereign's Edge, Captain Minho watched the Vorthan fleet's movements through his tactical displays. The enemy ships were impressive. By galactic standards, 300 meters of armored hull bristling with plasma cannons and missile batteries. Against any other opponent, they would be formidable predators. Against humanity's newest weapons, they were already obsolete. The transmission began with a simple quantum pulse that traveled faster than light itself, reaching every corner of the galaxy within seconds. On thousands of worlds, billions of beings stopped what they were doing as emergency broadcast systems activated across all communication networks. From the crystal spires of Altarian cities to the underground hives of the insectoid colonies, every screen, every holographic display, every neural interface suddenly showed the same image. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Sovereign's Edge, his human features calm and resolute against the backdrop of stars visible through the massive viewport behind him. His dark eyes held the weight of humanity's long-hidden strength as he began to speak in clear, measured tones that would be remembered for generations. "Citizens of the galaxy, I am Captain Minho of the United Earth-ship Sovereign's Edge. For centuries, humanity has watched from the shadows as aggressive species have terrorized peaceful worlds. We have seen entire civilizations reduced to ash, watched as trade routes became hunting grounds for those who believe might makes right. On 1,000 worlds, alien beings leaned closer to their screens. The ethereal council members flickered between dimensions with excitement. The robotic synthesizer collective processed the transmission through millions of analytical subroutines. Even the mysterious deep dwellers, who rarely surfaced from their ocean worlds, sent representatives to monitor stations to witness this historic moment. "The time for silence has ended," Minho continued, his voice carrying the authority of someone who commanded weapons that could reshape star systems. "The Vorthan Empire will immediately cease all hostile actions and withdraw to their recognized borders. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact that will be enforced." Communications Officer Su Young monitored the transmission's reach from her station, watching as the quantum signal penetrated even the most heavily shielded military frequencies. Her fingers moved across holographic controls, ensuring that not a single inhabited system in the galaxy missed humanity's declaration. Emergency protocols activated on Vorthan command ships, bypassing their communication blocks and forcing the message through their internal networks. Admiral Krekthul watched the transmission from his flagship's bridge, his reptilian features twisting with rage as the human captain's words reached his crew. Around him, 200 Vorthan warriors stood at attention, their scaled hides gleaming under the harsh lights of the command center. Each creature was a master of combat, trained from birth to kill and conquer in the name of their empire. Insolent mammals, Krekthul roared, his claws leaving deep scratches in the metal armrest of his command chair. They dare threaten the Vorthan Empire with their pitiful single ship. Warriors, prepare for battle. We will show this galaxy what happens to those who challenge our might. The Vorthan fleet moved with predatory grace, their crimson hulls gleaming, like blood against the stars. 200 warships, each one a masterpiece of destructive engineering, formed attack formations that had conquered dozens of worlds. Plasma cannons charged with deadly energy, while missile batteries loaded their most devastating warheads. The fleet's combined firepower could reduce entire planets to molten slag. Captain Minho watched the enemy approach through his tactical displays, his expression never changing as hostile contact alarms echoed throughout the Sovereign's edge. His crew worked with quiet efficiency around him, their movements precise and coordinated, despite facing odds that would terrify any normal military force. "Weapons status," he requested calmly. Lieutenant Commander Hyojin, his weapons officer, checked her displays with practiced efficiency. "All systems online and ready, Captain. Gravitic mines armed and deployed. Nano-web missiles loaded in all. Tubes, reality distortion generators at full power." The first Vorthan ships opened fire at maximum range, sending streams of superheated plasma racing toward the human vessel. The energy beams, each one capable of melting through a kilometer of solid steel, struck the Sovereign's edge and simply vanished as if they had never existed. The ship's defensive systems didn't even register the attack. "Return fire," Minho ordered quietly. What followed redefined the meaning of naval warfare for every species in the galaxy. The Sovereign's edge deployed weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics themselves. Gravitic mines materialized around enemy ships like invisible traps, creating artificial black holes that crushed 100-meter vessels into points of infinite density. The compressed matter vanished into space-time, leaving nothing behind but gravity waves that rippled through local space. Nano-web missiles launched from hidden ports in the human ship's hull, their payload spreading across the battlefield like deadly spiderwebs. Each microscopic robot was programmed with one simple task: dismantle whatever it touched at the molecular level. Vorthan hulls, built from the strongest alloys in the galaxy, simply came apart as their atomic bonds dissolved. Entire warships crumbled like sandcastles before the molecular tide, but the most terrifying weapons were the reality distortion fields. Energy barriers that existed in dimensions beyond normal space reached out to touch enemy vessels, and where they made contact, matter simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized, but erased from reality, as if it had never been. 50-meter sections of Vorthan battleships vanished completely, leaving perfectly smooth cuts through hulls and crew compartments. Chief Engineer Taimin monitored the ship's defensive systems from his station deep within the Sovereign's edge. Around him, quantum processors hummed quietly as they managed energy flows that could power entire star systems. Yet throughout the engagement, not a single defensive system had activated. "Hull integrity at 100%, Captain," he reported with quiet pride. "All systems operating within normal parameters. The enemy weapons never even reached our outer shields." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 17 minutes. When the firing stopped, nothing remained of the mighty Vorthan fleet except expanding clouds of debris, and the occasional distress beacon transmitting automated surrender codes. 200 of the galaxy's most advanced warships had been reduced to cosmic dust by a single human vessel that hadn't even been scratched. Across the galaxy, the silence was deafening. On 1,000 worlds, billions of beings stared at their screens in stunned disbelief. The Vorthan Empire, which had terrorized entire sectors for generations, had been utterly destroyed by weapons they couldn't even understand. Captain Minho stood quietly on his bridge, watching the debris field expand through the viewport. His voice, when he spoke again, carried the weight of absolute authority. Let this serve as a lesson to any who would threaten the peace of this galaxy. Humanity will no longer remain silent. The quantum transmission rippled across space faster than light itself, bypassing every communication barrier and defense system in the galaxy. On the mining world of Kepler 442, crystalline beings stopped their deep excavations to watch holographic displays that materialized in their underground cities. In the floating cities of the gas giant Nephron, jellyfish-like creatures pulsed with bioluminescent excitement as the message reached their organic communication networks. Communications officer Su Young sat at her station aboard the Sovereign's Edge, her fingers dancing across controls that managed technology beyond most species' understanding. The transmission array she operated could penetrate the quantum encryption of military networks, override emergency broadcast systems, and even reach ships traveling through hyperspace. Every inhabited system in the galaxy would receive this message simultaneously, whether they wanted to or not. "Signal strength at maximum across all frequencies, Captain," she reported. "The message is reaching core world government centers, outer rim trading posts, and even the deep space monitoring stations. Nobody can ignore this." Captain Minho stood before the main transmission array, knowing that billions of eyes across the galaxy were now focused on him. Behind him, the bridge of humanity's most advanced warship hummed with quiet energy. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, their calm demeanor hiding the revolutionary moment they were about to witness. "Citizens of the galaxy," Minho began, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's hidden strength. "I am Captain Minho of the United Earthship Sovereign's Edge. For too long, you have lived in fear of those who believe strength gives them the right to destroy others. Today that fear ends. On the insectoid hive world of Zeta Reticuli, millions of drone workers paused in their construction of massive biocities. Their collective consciousness processed the humans' words through quantum-linked neural networks that spanned continents. The message was clear. Something fundamental was about to change in the balance of galactic power. Peaceful species have watched their worlds burn, while aggressive empires expand without consequence. Trade routes have become hunting grounds. Entire civilizations have been reduced to slavery or extinction. Humanity has observed these injustices from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to act. The robotic collective known as the synthesizers analyzed the transmission through millions of processing cores scattered across their mechanized worlds. Their artificial intelligences, some of the most advanced in the galaxy, detected something unusual in the human captain's biometric readings. No signs of deception, no elevated stress markers, only absolute confidence in his ability to enforce whatever ultimatum was coming. Admiral Krek Thul watched the transmission from the bridge of his flagship, the Blood Fang, surrounded by his most experienced battle commanders. Each Vorthan warrior stood over 7 feet tall, their reptilian scales scarred from countless battles. Their yellow eyes glowed with predatory intelligence as they processed the humans' audacious message. "The Vorthan Empire will immediately cease all hostile actions and withdraw to their recognized borders," Minho continued, his tone shifting to carry unmistakable authority. "All occupied worlds will be evacuated within 1 galactic standard week. All military operations against civilian populations will end immediately. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact." Krekthul's roar of rage echoed through his ship's corridors, causing even his veteran warriors to step back in surprise. His claws extended to their full length as he slammed his fists against the command console, leaving deep gouges in the reinforced metal. "Insolent mammals," he snarled, foam gathering at the corners of his mouth. "They dare issue ultimatums to the Vorthan Empire. Warriors to battle stations. We will show this galaxy what happens when primitives challenge their betters." The Vorthan fleet moved like a pack of space-borne predators, their crimson hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. 200 warships formed attack formations that had conquered entire star systems. Each vessel bristled with weapons designed for maximum destruction. Plasma cannons that could melt through planetary crusts, missile batteries loaded with antimatter warheads, and boarding pods filled with Vorthan shock troops trained to slaughter anything that breathed. Captain Minho watched the enemy fleet approach through his tactical displays, completely unmoved by the sight of enough firepower to destroy small moons. Around him, his bridge crew prepared for battle with the calm efficiency of people who knew exactly what their ship could do. "Weapons status, Commander Hyojin," he requested quietly. His weapons officer, a woman whose steady hands had guided humanity's most classified weapon systems through years of secret testing, checked her displays with practiced ease. "All systems armed and ready, Captain. Gravitic mine deployment systems online. Nanoweb missile tubes loaded with full payloads. Reality distortion generators charged to maximum capacity. The first wave of Vorthan ships opened fire at extreme range, sending streams of superheated plasma racing toward the human vessel. Each energy beam carried enough destructive power to vaporize a city block. But when they struck the Sovereign's edge, something impossible happened. The plasma simply vanished, as if it had never existed. The ship's defensive systems registered no impact at all. "Their weapons are impressive by local standards," observed Science Officer Kyung-min from his sensor station. "However, they appear to be using technology approximately 3 centuries behind our current capabilities." "Return fire," Minho ordered with the same calm tone he might use to request tea. What followed redefined warfare for every civilization watching. The Sovereign's Edge deployed weapons that operated on principles most species couldn't even theorize about. Gravitic mines materialized in space around enemy ships like invisible spider webs, creating localized gravity wells that increased exponentially until they became artificial black holes. Entire Vorthan battleships, each one a masterpiece of military engineering, compressed into points smaller than atoms before vanishing into dimensions beyond normal space-time. Nanoweb missiles launched from concealed ports along the human ship's hull, their payloads spreading across the battlefield like deadly fog. Each microscopic robot was programmed with a single directive: dismantle whatever it encountered at the molecular level. Vorthan armor, forged from the strongest alloys in known space, simply dissolved as atomic bonds unraveled. Massive warships crumbled like sandcastles as their hulls lost structural integrity at the most fundamental level. But the most terrifying weapons were the reality distortion fields. Energy barriers that existed partially outside normal dimensions reached out to touch enemy vessels, and wherever they made contact, matter simply ceased to exist, not destroyed or converted to energy, but erased from reality itself. Perfectly. Circular sections of Vorthan ships vanished completely, leaving smooth-edged holes that revealed the cosmos beyond. Chief Engineer Tai-min monitored the engagement from deep within the Sovereign's Edge, surrounded by quantum processors that hummed with barely contained power. The ship's defensive systems hadn't even activated. The Vorthan weapons couldn't penetrate the outer sensor arrays, much less reach the actual hull. "Hull integrity at 100%, Captain," he reported with quiet satisfaction. "All defensive systems remain in standby mode. The enemy attacks are not registering as threats worthy of automated response." The battle, if the one-sided destruction could be called that, lasted exactly 17 minutes. When the firing stopped, nothing remained of the mighty Vorthan invasion fleet except expanding clouds of metallic debris and the occasional distress. Beacon broadcasting automated surrender codes. 200 of the galaxy's most feared warships had been completely annihilated by a single human vessel that hadn't suffered so much as a scratched paint job. Across the galaxy, absolute silence fell as billions of beings processed what they had just witnessed. The Vorthan Empire, terror of the Outer Rim for 3 centuries, had been utterly destroyed by weapons they couldn't even comprehend. Captain Minho's final transmission was brief, but carried implications that would reshape galactic civilization. Let this serve as a lesson. Humanity will no longer watch injustice from the shadows. The morning light from Kepler Prime's artificial sun filtered through the massive transparasteel windows of the renovated Galactic Council chambers, casting rainbow patterns across polished floors where alien diplomats once screamed threats at each other. Ambassador Hyunwoo adjusted his formal Earthfleet uniform as he walked through corridors that had been completely rebuilt in the 6 months since humanity revealed its true strength to the galaxy. Gone were the chaotic floating platforms where species representatives had hurled insults and accusations. In their place stood elegant discussion circles, where beings from dozens of worlds sat together, working through disagreements with words instead of weapons. The chamber itself had been expanded, with new sections dedicated to peaceful conflict, resolution and trade negotiation centers, where disputes were settled through human mediation rather than military action. The Sovereign's Edge hung in space outside the station, like a silent guardian, her obsidian hull reflecting the light of distant stars. Captain Minho had made it clear that the massive warship would remain permanently docked as Earth's embassy, a constant reminder that humanity now watched over galactic affairs with weapons that could reshape reality itself. In what was once the Vorten Empire's most aggressive sector, a remarkable transformation had taken place. Diplomat General Vorlin, a smaller and more thoughtful member of the reptilian species, had emerged as their new leader after the complete destruction of their military hierarchy. Unlike his predecessors, who spoke only of conquest and domination, Vorlin approached humanity with genuine respect and a desire for peaceful cooperation. Ambassador Hyunwoo, Vorlin's translator, converted his hissing speech into perfect galactic standard as they met in the diplomatic wing. My people have completed the evacuation of the contested Outer Rim worlds. We've also established the cultural exchange programs you requested. Young Vorthans are eager to learn human conflict resolution techniques. The change was remarkable. Died a witness. Vorten warriors who had once terrorized entire star systems now worked alongside human peacekeepers, learning to use their natural strength for construction and protection rather than destruction. Their massive claws, designed for ripping through armor, proved surprisingly effective at precision work when properly trained. Captain Minho stood in his ready room aboard the Sovereign's Edge, reviewing the weekly intelligence reports that painted a picture of galactic transformation beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Intelligence Officer Jae Hyun had compiled data from monitoring stations across known space, and the results were almost too good to believe. The shipping lanes report 0 piracy incidents for the 4th consecutive month, Captain Jae Hyun announced, his voice carrying a note of amazement that never quite faded. Our patrol ships haven't needed to fire a single shot. The mere knowledge that Earth fleet vessels are monitoring trade routes has been enough to deter any aggressive action. The patrol ships themselves were marvels of human engineering, sleek vessels only 2 kilometers long, but each one carrying enough firepower to level entire fleets. They moved through space like ghostly guardians, appearing whenever sensors detected the buildup of hostile forces and disappearing once the threat dissolved. Most species had learned to recognize their distinctive energy signatures and immediately ceased any aggressive behavior. Trade flourished under this new protection in ways the galaxy had never experienced. The insectoid hive queens, once isolated in their underground cities, now sent merchant vessels loaded with rare minerals to trading posts throughout known space. The crystalline Altarians shared their advanced mathematics with species who had previously been too afraid to approach their territory. Even the mysterious deep dwellers began surfacing from their ocean worlds to participate in interstellar commerce. The most remarkable change occurred in the diplomatic sector itself. Species that had spent centuries locked in territorial disputes now brought their conflicts to human mediators, with the enthusiasm of students seeking wisdom from respected teachers. The Mollusk Federation and the Silicon-based collective, enemies for over 200 years, had signed a comprehensive peace treaty mediated by human diplomats who understood both species' unique needs. Captain Minho often spent his evening hours on the observation deck, watching the constant flow of peaceful traffic through Kepler Prime's space lanes. Massive cargo haulers moved alongside sleek passenger liners, while scientific research vessels shared docking facilities with cultural exchange ships. The view reminded him of ancient Earth cities during their golden ages, bustling centers of commerce and learning where different peoples came together for mutual benefit. Captain, Communications Officer Su Young, approached with the daily diplomatic reports, her tablet displaying requests from across the galaxy. We've received requests for human arbitration from 7 different sectors today. The Ethereal Council wants our help resolving a dimensional boundary dispute, and the Robotic Collective is asking for assistance with their expansion protocols to ensure they don't accidentally infringe on organic species territories. But perhaps the most encouraging development was a proposal from the Altarian Confederation. These crystalline beings, among the most advanced scientists in the galaxy, wanted to establish a joint research station with humanity. Their message spoke of combining Altarian mathematical precision with human innovative thinking to unlock scientific advances that neither species could achieve alone. "There's something else, Captain," Su Yung continued, her expression brightening. "The Vorthan Cultural Ministry has submitted a proposal for a peace monument. They want to build it at the exact coordinates where their old fleet was destroyed, as a reminder to future generations about the price of aggression and the value of cooperation." Minho nodded approvingly as another Earth fleet vessel dropped out of hyperspace near the station. The UES Harmony's Dawn, a sister ship to the Sovereign's Edge, glided through space with the same impossible grace that had once terrified the galaxy's military leaders. Now her arrival brought comfort to the countless beings who had learned to associate humanity's presence with safety and justice. The transformation was complete. The galaxy had learned a new way to exist, not through the domination of the strong over the weak, but through cooperation guided by those with the wisdom and power to ensure fairness for all. The silence that had fallen across known space was not the quiet of fear, but the peaceful hum of a civilization finally learning to speak instead of shout. As Captain Minho watched the stars wheel slowly past his observation window, he reflected on humanity's new role as guardians of galactic peace. It was a responsibility they had never sought, but one they would bear with the same quiet